national lives this is. Yesterday, the Prime Minister admitted, because he had to, that despite the fact he'd known that Mandelson had continued his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein even after he'd been sent to prison for underage prostitution, despite the fact the Prime Minister knew that, he still appointed Mandelson to be our ambassador in Washington. But don't think this scandal is just another political scandal. It isn't just sort of Partygate, but a bit bigger. No, this involves sex, it involves money, it involves the royal family, it involves the leaking of market-sensitive, confidential information. I suspect it's pretty close, in many ways, to breaching the Official Secrets Act. This is far bigger than the Profumo scandal of 60 years ago. This is the biggest scandal in British politics for over 1 century. And I would predict pretty confidently, I said this yesterday, but I stick by it, I'd predict that Morgan McSweeney, the chief advisor, will be gone pretty quickly. I don't know how long Starmer will last as Prime Minister. Indeed, I'm very worried about it. I want him to stay forever. Well, when I say forever, I mean until May the 7th, when we have the elections in Wales, Scotland, London, and around the rest of the country. That's what I'd like to see. Well, if he does last up until May the 7th, our job, your job, as our candidates, our activists, our supporters, our donors, your job in the run-up to May the 7th is to make sure he isn't there for very much longer after that. And Wales, of course, in Wales, the Labour Party were already in dire trouble. I can't even imagine what some of the last loyal Labour voters must be thinking in the wake of these misjudgments and this scandal. And it is all the more remarkable because, of course, South Wales really is the birthplace of the Labour Party. From Keir Hardie in Merthyr Tydfil through the Nye Bevans, the Michael Foots, the Neil Kinnocks, many of the great names of the Labour Party have been South Walians. And most of these constituencies have been taken for granted pretty much since 1918. But something fundamental has changed. And now I think for Labour it will get even worse. And that gives us incredible opportunities. The Tories are nowhere in Wales in this contest leading up to May the 7th. And frankly, as soon as there's a big political scandal, and this is a mega political scandal, people don't think, oh, well, that's okay, because the Tories were whiter than white. No one thinks that of them. So the opportunity for something fresh and something new has never, ever been greater. And that's the role that Plaid are trying to fill. Plaid are trying to say, number one, we're not the Labour Party. Well, that bit's true. Although in policy terms, you'll notice they've kept the government in Cardiff propped up many, many times over the course of the last miserable 26 years for Wales. They've even had their policy advisors deep inside the Welsh government. So we can't let Plaid get away with saying they're the party of change. They are not the party of change. They're the party of continuity. They're the party of continued failure in Wales, whether it's health, education, or some of the loony policies, such as the 20-mile-an-hour speed limit, which I can promise you will be disappearing if and when we win these elections on the 7th of May. Never so much else to talk about. But for us to succeed, there are 4 key ingredients. The first is we need the right candidates and the right leadership. The second is we need the right policies and the right manifesto for Wales. Don't worry, getting rid of the 20-mile-an-hour limit will be in it, I'll insist. But so much else to talk about in terms of farming, in terms of health, in terms of education, and in terms of the bloated, expanded quangocracy who seem to run most of Wales these days. So that's the second thing we've got to get right. We've got to get the policy formation, we've got to get the means of selling it out to people in ways that are understandable and communicable. The third thing we have to do is to raise money, because you need ammunition to fight these big battles. And the fourth thing we need is to be lucky with our enemies. And I think right at the moment, we're very, very lucky with our enemies. And I can tell you today, on the national fundraising front, we will very soon see the declarations for Q4 of 2025, and that will show a very big uptick in the sheer number of people starting to give us serious money, and lots of people giving us money at smaller levels too. And I think when the Q1 figures come out, people will be surprised. So we're lucky with our opponents. We're raising the money to have the ammunition. We will be doing a full manifesto launch within the first 2 weeks of March, where we'll lay out the manifesto with which we'll fight the Senate elections. But today is about people. Now, it'll be another couple of weeks before we unveil the lists for the 16 super constituencies. But I want to introduce today 2 people who are new to the party, who I believe will add a great amount, and I'm keen for you to meet. The first is a 34-year-old sheep farmer. You've guessed who he is, haven't you? He's a 34-year-old sheep farmer who was elected to the Senate as a Conservative. And 2 weeks ago, they were on defection watch, which, given what's been happening around the country, is perhaps not all that surprising. And he was called in and asked, are you leaving us to join Reform? He just honestly said, look, I've had a conversation with him and they booted him out. Well, today, we're going to welcome James Evans into our party. We're going to welcome him in to stand as a candidate. And before I bring him on stage, have a look at this short video.
After 26 years of Wales being let down by the same failing political parties, Wales now needs fundamental reform. Growing up in rural Wales, you feel like you've won the lottery, really. It's an amazing part of the world, the community's unbelievable, and the friends you get stay with you for life. And I think the old parties have let rural Wales down for far too long. Labour, Plaid Cymru, the Liberal Democrats and the Conservatives played its part in breaking the whole of the United Kingdom. Farmers and rural communities are not the problem. It's the crazy policies and ideology coming out from Cardiff Bay. Food security matters and rural community matters. Rural Wales needs a government that works with us, not one that lectures us, and Reform will always stand shoulder to shoulder with the people of rural Wales. We need to change Wales. We need to get people in the Welsh Parliament who understand their communities, who understand that things in Wales cannot carry on as they are. And the only way we can do that is making sure that Wales has a Reform government after May the 7th. Wales is broken and Wales needs reform.
James has been a spokesman on agriculture, unsurprisingly, and on health. He's joining our party right now, here today on this stage. And I want you please all to join me in giving him a big, warm welcome.
Thank you everybody for that very, very warm welcome. And it's lovely to see so many familiar and very happy faces. But let me be straight with you, because Wales has had 26 years of Cardiff Bay spin. Britain is broken, and Wales is broken also. Not under pressure, not challenged, it is fundamentally broken. And the real failure in Welsh politics is not just the bad outcomes for its people. It's the refusal by the people in power to admit what everybody else can see. I did admit it. I said it openly. And I challenged it inside the Senedd and the Conservative Party. I said that Wales was broken. I said that Britain was broken. And for that honesty, to myself and to the people of Wales, I was kicked out. Because what I was being asked to defend was a vision for the United Kingdom and for Wales that was not a good one. It drifted away from reality. It failed to recognise the mistakes of the past. Some of the biggest challenges for me were the Conservative Party's refusal to rule out a post-election deal with Plaid Cymru. A party that wants to destroy our United Kingdom. They started kicking people out of the party for holding different views on devolution or saying anything contrary to what the leadership in London wanted them to say. And finally, also negotiating with a Welsh Labour government to pass their budget. A Labour Party that has broken Wales and still refuses to admit it. To me, that was not new leadership. That was repeating the same mistakes that Wales has suffered from for years. Over-promising and under-delivering and wanting to be a part of that cosy Cardiff Bay bubble. For me, it reached a point where I could not stand on a platform, go and knock doors, look people in the eye and sell a message that I did not believe in. Once you reach that point, there are only really two options. You either stay silent, take the money and hope for the best, or you tell the truth and accept the consequences. And I chose the truth. Since then, I've been blown away by the support I've received from my constituents in Brecon and Radnorshire and from people right the way across Wales and the reform army of people who are in this room. Honest, hard-working people, people who set their alarm clocks, get up early, work hard, pay their taxes, and know, just like everybody in this room, that our country is broken and it needs fixing. Before I go any further, I just want to say this. The last few weeks have not been easy. Telling the truth to power really is. And I would not be standing here today without the support of my wife, my family, and my friends, who stood by me when it would have been easier to stay quiet, tell me to keep my head down, and say nothing. They stood by me when the pressure came, when the headlines came, and when the consequences followed. To them, and especially to my wife, thank you very much, darling, because I would not be here without you today. As people can see, I'm an honest person, and I want to be honest again. I have criticised reform in the past. I've done it publicly, and I'm not hiding away from it, and I'm certainly not going to rewrite history. But serious people, not career politicians, reassess when the reality refuses to go away. As someone once told me, a wise person can change their mind, a fool never knows how. So I looked again. I listened, I read the detail, and I saw a movement that has grown and starts where the other parties refuse to start, with the truth. That Britain is broken, that Wales is broken, and nothing gets fixed until you're willing to admit it. And that is why I am here. But I also know exactly what happens next, because I've seen this playbook before. As we speak, I'm sure the Welsh media bubble will be rolling out on social media and on the press my so-called greatest hits. All quotes, half sentences, clipped lines stripped of context, and I can assure everyone Laura Ann Jones is a very good friend of mine. And they do this not to inform people, but try to destroy reputations. That's how the Welsh media in Wales works. It's driven by left-wing activists who pass themselves off as journalists. And to me, and I'm sure, like me and many people around Wales, I think they are just unpaid Plaid Cymru and Labour Party campaigners. They never ask the questions, do they, of why Wales is broken. They never challenge the people who broke it, and they attack anybody who dares to speak out and stand their ground. Smear first, silence second, then move on. That's their model. But here's the problem for them, isn't it? It doesn't work anymore, because the people of Wales can see exactly what's going on, and they're not going to tolerate it anymore. Reform exists for a reason, because people got fed up with being told what to think, told to fall in line, and told to pretend that things were fine when they clearly are not. One person who has stood against that time and time again is Nigel Farage. Nigel deserves that credit, not because everybody agrees with him, but because he was willing to say what others would not, to take the abuse, to take the ridicule, and keep going anyway. You do not build movements by playing it safe. You build it by telling the truth, refusing to back down, and that is in the DNA of Nigel and everybody in this room. And let's bring it a bit closer to home, because Wales has had over 26 years of the same political class, the same thinking and the same excuses from the Bay. The worst NHS performance in Britain, young people leaving at a rate of knots, communities from north to south left behind, and the landscape of rural Wales being sacrificed through green policies. And what is Labour's answers to these problems? Well, it's always the same, isn't it? More taxpayer money wasted, more vanity projects, more bureaucracy, and no accountability. And if that works, Wales would not be in the state we are today. So what is the alternative being offered to Wales? Well, if you listen to the experts and the media, they would have you believe that it's a hard left, Plaid Cymru and Green Party coalition. And we all know what that would mean. Higher taxes, more regulation, more green energy nonsense, and a slow march towards breaking up our precious United Kingdom. And let me be clear, breaking up Britain would break Wales even further. I am proudly Welsh, but I am proudly British. Those things are not in conflict, and we are stronger together as one united kingdom. one of the biggest challenges in Wales is the state of our NHS. And I'm not talking about this as someone from a distance. My family work in the NHS, or have worked in the NHS. And for the last 12 months, I have led on health policy as the Shadow Health Secretary here in Wales. I have served on the Health Committee, and I chaired it for a period of time. I have met hundreds of patients, families, doctors, nurses and clinicians on the front line doing their best in a system that is letting them down. Before joining reform, I sought and received clear assurances. The NHS will remain free at the point of use. And I'll say it again so the media can hear it. Free at the point of use. That was a non-negotiable for me and a non-negotiable for reform. And we will be working with clinicians, not against them, focusing on patients, not the process, and fixing what is broken. We will fix the NHS in Wales, not with slogans, but with serious reforms to the system. As you might have seen by that lovely video that was shown earlier, an important part to the country, for me, is rural Wales. It is where I was born, brought up and worked for most of my adult life. And it hurts me that rural Wales and our farmers are seen as the problem to a lot of our issues in society, when the reality is that our rural communities and our farmers offer most of the solutions. So let me spell it out loud and clear. Farmers and rural communities are not the problem. It's the crazy policies that come out of Cardiff Bay that are the problem. Food security matters and rural communities matter, and Wales needs a government that works with rural Wales, not one that lectures it. And reform will always stand shoulder to shoulder with our farmers and those people in rural Wales. So let me finish with this. Wales does not have to accept decline. It does not have to live with excuses. And it does not have to be run by people who broke it and still refuse to admit it. Britain is broken. Wales is broken. And nothing gets fixed by denial. Britain needs reform. And Wales needs it even more. A politics of honesty, not spin, of courage, not comfort, of action, not excuses. And I cannot work to wait with the thousands of Welsh and British patriots who want to turn this country around. And I cannot wait to get to work with the candidates who will fight tirelessly for their communities and the people of Wales. So to everybody in this room and the Reform family and everybody across Wales, together we will reform Wales. Together we will turn things around, and together we will deliver the change that Wales needs. Because everybody in this room knows that Wales needs reform. Thank you very much.
That was terrific, spirited, positive, really loved it. Your comments about the Welsh media lead me to look forward to the Q&A session we'll be doing in just a moment. Now, for those that thought that today's event was just about James joining us, and perhaps the media thought that's what it was for, perhaps you thought it was what it was for, there's actually something else that we're going to do today that I think is really rather important. As you know, in the run-up to the elections on May the 7th, some of the key moments will be the debates that take place live on television here in Wales between the party leaders. Now, of course, I can't take part in those debates because I'm not running for the Senate and I'm not Welsh, and it wouldn't work. So I've had, over the course of the last week or two, to make a decision as to who the right person is to lead us over the course of these next 2.5 months, to go on television, to take on the other party leaders, to push our message, and somebody that we in Wales, you in Wales, can all get behind. So I will announce now that the leader of Reform UK Wales is a man who was born in the valleys, who, like so many, sadly, young people from Wales, headed off to London for a career in which he did well. He also went on to be a cabinet member of the council in Barnet and the leader of Barnet Council for some years. So we have somebody here from the valleys, somebody here with considerable business experience, but somebody who knows what it is to run big budgets, somebody who knows how difficult it is to be in government. And that quality, that combination, is what made me realise that the man to do this, I'm going to introduce him to you right now. Oh, he's here, I promise. It's not like Robert Jenrick. Do you remember that? And Robert... I'm confident Dan Thomas is here. So please welcome the leader of Reform Wales. Please welcome Dan Thomas.
Thank you, Nigel, for the introduction and for the honour of being Reform UK's leader in Wales. Thank you. For those who may not know me, my name is Dan Thomas, and my story is similar to many of you in this room and watching at home. I was born and raised in the Welsh Valleys, where my family lived 4 generations. My granddad was a miner, as was his dad before him. A strong work ethic ran in the family, and I studied hard at school while juggling paper rounds and training with the local Air Cadets. I have fond memories of growing up in Wales, and I didn't want to leave when I turned 18. My parents were sad to see me go, or so they tell me. But for many young Welshmen and women, good opportunities in Wales are few and far between. The well-paying jobs and the high-flying career paths are simply not there. So I left to build a successful career in financial services in London, while serving my new community as a councillor and council leader. At 27 years, I'm back home, raising 2 young boys in the valley so they can enjoy the same beautiful Welsh countryside that I played in as a child. I've come back to where I belong. But 27 years later, I found myself again asking what opportunities exist for young adults leaving education. Will my boys want to stay in the green grass of home? Or will they feel the need to go over the Severn Bridge to fulfil their maximum potential? 27 years later, the sad truth is that the Labour Party has decimated Wales through inertia and managed decline. Welsh children are being let down by an education system which achieves the poorest results in the UK. Welsh 15-year-olds have the worst PISA scores in the UK for maths, science and reading. The Welsh NHS can't cope despite receiving more funding per head than in England. And under Welsh NHS targets, 85% of cancer patients should be starting treatment within 62 days of an urgent referral. Just 59% receive treatment in time, again worse in England. Over 750,000 Welsh patients are still waiting for treatment. And Labour's response? To place fixing potholes on the equivalent footing to cutting waiting lists. Wales has the highest unemployment rate in the UK, and its economic inactivity rate is higher too. Labour does nothing to change this reality. They believe dependency on the state is their handrail to power, and it's no wonder that our brightest and best are leaving. The cost of living is soaring, made worse by Labour and Plaid Cymru councils, hiking up council tax by an eye-watering 7.1% on average. And when I was a council cabinet member for finance, I managed to cut council tax whilst retaining vital services such as weekly bin collections. And it can be done, but it needs strong, focused leadership from leaders who are on the side of residents and willing to take on vested interests. Young people are being priced out of their towns and villages because Labour have missed their own building targets. And they've overseen the second lowest level of new homes since records began. Again, when I was a council member for cabinet member for regeneration, I oversaw the highest delivery of new homes by a significant margin when compared to neighbouring councils. It can be done, but if we want a bright future for our children, we need to build it and not just talk about it. In Wales, most of us rely on our cars to get around, but Labour and Plaid Cymru are waging war on motorists. They see driving as a luxury, and they think we should all be herded onto unreliable buses and trains. Labour refused to build the M4 relief road, and they rolled out blanket 20-mile-an-hour speed limits. And if they're elected again, pay per mile will be coming for everyone, mark my words. And many in Wales rely on tourism for a living. But those tourists who are determined enough to suffer a clogged M4 motorway, they are now going to be hit with a tourist tax. And we know this will just drive more tourists down the road to Devon and Cornwall instead. And problems are very rarely resolved with taxes and regulations, but that is in the DNA of Labour and Plaid. The people of Wales don't deserve to live under 4 more years of failure. Wales can be a great place to live again. We can be proud again. And we can offer the next generation of Welsh children a better future. The Welsh Dragon, which stands proudly outside this building, can and will roar again. But Labour and Plaid Cymru, they're not the answer. They are the cosy Cardiff Bay establishment. They are both part of the same problem and have been for 27 years. They're not on the side of ordinary men and women, and they have no accountability for the dire state of our public services. They would rather virtue signal on international issues than help our own people in Wales. All they have is excuses, a record of failure, and a belief that only they are entitled to Welsh votes. They have taken us for granted for too long, and we have had enough. Now, some people think that Plaid Cymru are a harmless alternative to Labour. My friends, they are even worse. They want to take Wales out of the British Union, which serves us very well, and turn us into a country where borders without borders, and where anyone can come to Wales from anywhere. Plaid and Labour are also living in denial when it comes to immigration. They say there's nothing to be concerned about because immigration is relatively low in Wales. And besides that, it's not a devolved matter, so let's not talk about it. Well, I can tell you the people of Wales are concerned about immigration, and it's not hard to see why. This time last year, in the high street of my hometown, there was a violent fight between a dozen or so Iranian and Afghan young men in broad daylight. We have never seen anything like that before. It just didn't happen when I was growing up. Apparently it was a turf war between rival barbershops, but no one believes that they were really fighting over haircuts, and they weren't certainly fighting over mine. These kinds of business are being used as fronts for illegal activity, and they're causing alarm and distress in once peaceful high streets. And just down the road, there was a car wash, which was the centre of a people trafficking ring. And then there's the number of increasing HMOs in Welsh towns, which are changing the character of our communities forever. HMOs are a symptom of the housing crisis, and one of the major causes of the housing crisis is uncontrolled immigration, which has a ripple effect across the UK. So, ladies and gentlemen, when Labour and Plaid Cymru say to you that you're not allowed to talk about immigration, when they try to shout you down by calling you a racist, please know that they are wrong and they are out of touch. The people of Wales can see what's really going on, and they will back reform to nip this problem in the bud. And we need to nip it in the bud in Wales. I've seen what uncontrolled immigration has done to London over the last 20 years. The pressure on public services, schools, hospitals, the congestion and the community cohesion issues. I've seen what weak and woke policing has done to law and order in London. And I don't want to see Wales and my hometown go down the same path as London. And the only way we can protect Wales from the same fate is to vote reform. And at the Senedd elections in May, we have a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to smash Labour's failing grip in Wales. And as your new leader in Wales, I will pour my heart and soul into fighting for every vote. We will have a positive, ambitious manifesto. We will have a team of talented, passionate candidates who know their communities and will be taking our message of change to the streets. We're fighting to win, fighting for every vote, because this is the last chance for Wales. We are at a turning point. We are at a turning point. We either settle for another 4 years of the same, or we break the mould, start again, and fulfil our full potential in Wales. It can be done, and with you, the People's Army, reform will be the change that Wales desperately needs. Wales is broken. Wales needs reform. Thank you.
Did I make a good choice? Excellent. We'll let the other parties all fight amongst themselves. We will be unified, strong, clear in purpose, unafraid of false criticisms and negative labels that are thrown at us, and we'll fight as a team. And you know something? We've really got a chance on May the 7th here in Wales to do something truly historic and remarkable, and that's what it's about. Now, this is a press conference, and the first question is from Adrian Masters of ITV Wales.
Thank you very much. Can I just ask a question about how much autonomy or how much say the Welsh leader will have over the direction of the party here in Wales? If Dan wants to disagree with you or follow a different policy, will he be able to, or will you still call the shots?
What do you think I am? I mean, I'm not some sort of hardline authoritarian dictator. I mean, you can probably... one or two cartoons have suggested that over the years, but it's not true. No, look, you know, we are, as you know, we've moved beyond the start-up phase as a party. We're now moving in to maturity. And yes, I have got not just Dan, but you're going to see in a couple of weeks a list of candidates that will cover all ages, all geographies, all backgrounds, all different life and work experiences. And when it comes to devolved matters, it's up to Reform UK in Wales to make those decisions, how best to deal with the kangocracy, how best to deal with the health service, how best to deal with these devolved matters. I wouldn't even, Adrian, pretend that I knew what needed to happen within the failing NHS in Wales. So yes, the party here, under Dan, will have full autonomy on Welsh policy. When it comes to national policy, well, if we have a disagreement, do you know what we'll do? We'll disagree behind closed doors and come to a conclusion and work it out. All right? Happy with that? Great. Next up, we have Gareth Lewis from BBC Wales.
Morning, both. Nice to speak to you. I'll stand as you can see. Mr Farage, first of all, just to elaborate on Adrian's point, if it comes down to those grey areas, those jagged edges of devolution, and it crosses both Welsh and national policy, would it ultimately be you who would call those shots and make the decision? And just a couple of questions for Dan. Very quick one, just to specify your hometown. I think it's Blackwood, your top place, Blackwood, yes. Yeah. And given that your politics has been for so long outside of Wales, do you feel you've got an element of catching up to do to get yourself up to speed with what's going on in Wales?
No, I've kept abreast of Welsh politics ever since. I've stood for election in Wales over the years, in 2010, 2017. You know, all my family and friends live in Wales. I watch the news. You know, Wales isn't a million miles away from England. It's just next door. There's very many overlaps of policy. So, you know, I'm fully informed. We're working on a manifesto right now, and we'll be start to release some snippets from that. And I think you'll be impressed. But thank you.
We are currently running. We are currently running 12 county councils after May the 7th, despite the fact there are some cancellations in England, in some cases for the second year in a row, which is a disgrace, and is why I'll be taking the government to the High Court later on this month through a judicial review. We are going to have big elected representation in London boroughs after May the 7th, in the Scottish Parliament, here in the Senate in Cardiff, in many councils that we're going to win across the country. Not only can I not micromanage all of them, I have absolutely no intention of micromanaging them. I believe we've put together in Wales the team of people with the depth and breadth of experience to get on with it. Simple as. Okay. Rhys Williams from ITV.
Thank you. Mr Farage, you've chosen someone with no track record here in Wales and who I think lost Barnet Council to Labour in 2022. How confident are you that he can win here?
Yeah, the track record one's a funny one, isn't it? On the national level, I'm told, well, you've got no track record. You've got no one that's ever been in cabinet. So Robert Jenrick joins us and, oh, you're just a bunch of Tories. I mean, I can't really win, can I? If you ask me questions like that, there's no way out. Look, Dan has got considerable experience. He served for 10 years on a cabinet. He served for several years as the leader of a big council in London with all the challenges that that brings, and the fact they lost to Labour in 2022, well, frankly, given what Boris Johnson did to the Conservative Party during those years, everyone lost in 2022 and even more lost in 2024. I am confident that the fellow sitting to the left of me knows what it's like to stand up in the chamber and be attacked. I've watched the videos. Knows what it is to run a budget, understands that when it comes to taxes, that basically people want lower taxes, not higher taxes at all levels.
That's right.
And so if you're asking me, is he up to it? I believe absolutely that he is.
Thank you.
I won't let you defend yourself, you don't need to. Jacob Morris from S4C.
Hi, Shomai. A question for the both of you. In terms of today, we've seen Laurent Jones last year join the party. James Evans confirmed today. I know another former Tory. Is there one too many Tories in Reform now?
Given that we will be fielding on May the 7th nearly 100 candidates, there will be 3 or 4 who've come across as previously elected Conservative figures. So if that figure is, between 5% and 8%, I would say no. I would also say to you that there will be many, many people across the whole of Wales who in the past have voted Labour, but will be voting for us because they now see us as a party that is patriotic. They see a Prime Minister who frankly does everything he can to damage this country, to damage its standing overseas, to trash its reputation. And what you're witnessing here, not just in Wales, but across the United Kingdom, is the biggest, most radical change that has been seen in our politics since just after the First World War, when the Labour Party replaced the Liberal Party as a party of government. It is that fundamental, it is that radical, and we welcome former Conservatives who've seen the light. We welcome former Labour people. We welcome people, despite their political pasts, we believe in Christian forgiveness. And we're very happy to welcome them to the bright side. We really are. Next up is Andy Davis from Channel 4.
Thank you. Mr Farage, a recent poll suggested that nearly half of all Reform voters in Wales think this country has been shortchanged financially by recent UK governments. And you'll be aware, for instance, of the intense anger over repeated underfunding when it comes to rail infrastructure in Wales.
Yeah.
Do you think that Wales has been shortchanged when it comes to UK-wide spending, and how much of a priority would you make it to change that?
I mean, look, there is this argument going around that, HS2 money should be diverted to Wales by the Labour government. It isn't going to happen. They're all committed, madly committed to HS2. I would say this to you, that Wales has been incredibly badly let down. The reason that steelworks, the reason that primary steelworks in Port Talbot has closed is because both the Conservative and Labour governments have pursued insane net zero policies that are deindustrialising Britain. I think there is a feeling in Wales also that perhaps the Prime Minister and the Leader of the Opposition have no particular record of being engaged in Wales or being interested in Wales. And I would say to you that I've been coming here repeatedly for over 20 years, engaging in debate, supporting campaigns. So it isn't just about money. And the most important thing about money the single most important thing about money is not how big subventions from central government are, it's the ability to turn around attitudes within Wales to help and encourage people set up small businesses, to change the attitude of sadly too many young people to getting up early in the morning, to going out to work, to having ambition. Wales will never get rich however much money is transferred from national government. Wales will only get richer if it does it for itself. And I believe that this man embodies that. He embodies that. I think the message that at 18 he felt he had to go to London, but that now he's come home to where he loves and belongs and wants to bring his children up here, tells you we've got somebody that understands this problem, that understands this phenomenon. And no, we can't turn the culture around overnight, but we can start. We can make a really, really big, good start. The culture towards success, the culture towards hard work, the culture towards ambition needs to be changed. Too many young people in Wales and elsewhere around the United Kingdom feel some sense of helplessness or hopelessness, seem to think that a life on benefits is going to be rewarding, when actually it's the opposite. It's liable to lead them to getting very, very depressed. And you can't recognise these things. You can't look for the optimistic solutions and ways forward unless and until you accept that Britain, how's it go, James? Is broken. Thank you. Good morning, everybody. That is an amazing reception, and I would wager it's better than the reception Keir Starmer's going to get the next time he speaks anywhere, frankly. Well, what an extraordinary moment in politics and our national lives this is. Yesterday, the Prime Minister admitted, because he had to, that despite the fact he'd known that Mandelson had continued his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein even after he'd been sent to prison for underage prostitution, despite the fact the Prime Minister knew that, he still appointed Mandelson to be our ambassador in Washington. But don't think this scandal is just another political scandal. It isn't just sort of Partygate, but a bit bigger. No, this involves sex, it involves money, it involves the royal family, it involves the leaking of market-sensitive, confidential information. I suspect it's pretty close, in many ways, to breaching the Official Secrets Act. This is far bigger than the Profumo scandal of 60 years ago. This is the biggest scandal in British politics for over 1 century. And I would predict pretty confidently, I said this yesterday, but I stick by it, I'd predict that Morgan McSweeney, the chief advisor, will be gone pretty quickly. I don't know how long Starmer will last as Prime Minister. Indeed, I'm very worried about it.